The low maintenance, no maintenance, high maintenance. Brandon Jennings, when he didn't show up for the draft, what did you categorize him as?
We didn't know.
Didn't know.
We didn't know, and that's what you do when you enter into a draft. You don't know exactly what you're getting until you have a chance to live with it. And but I can tell you now, we're happy with what we have.
Yeah.
John, obviously you're here to support Doug in his new program here. You mentioned the story while you were up there about how, or actually Doug had mentioned it, I'm sorry, he said he kind of pointed him to the direction of the coach. And watching a lot of the games, you see announcers say, oh, this guy's like a coach on the floor, and he'd be a good coach someday. What did you see in Doug when you were coaching him at Missouri?
It started before Southwest Missouri. It started at junior college when I first saw him play and started the recruiting process with him. Just a guy that had great poise on the floor, had a command of the game, and you could see he was a man of character.
And how did he, in your eyes, how did he turn out at Missouri for you guys?
Well, we had just gone to back-to-back NCAA tournaments and lost our starting backcourt, and in particular our point guard, who went on to play in the NBA. As a matter of fact, his name was Winston Garland, and so it was, to say the least, big shoes to fill. And Doug came in and led us to 2 more NCAA tournaments, and at that time, it's now Missouri State University, but at that time it was a school called Southwest Missouri State, and we were kind of known as giant killers, and Doug was a part of that.
And now you're up here in Marquette, and you've seen what Doug has to work with, and you mentioned you had a good feeling he was going to succeed. What about up here at Northern do you think is going to be conducive to a winning environment?
Well, I mean, you can see that there's a great spirit here on campus, and having a chance to sit with President Wong and his commitment to athletics and his commitment to winning, it always starts at the top. So I think that gives Doug a leg up, and then. I love the facilities, absolutely beautiful facilities. I love walking around clean buildings, and the facilities are spotless, and players want to play in nice facilities, and I know the tradition here, and they've won here in the past, and I know they're hungry to get back to winning days, and I think they've got the right man to do the job.
What would you say is the best trait that Doug brings to the table as a coach?
I think discipline. I'll never forget years ago when I was a young coach. I'll never forget Dean Smith. I heard him, the legendary North Carolina coach, speak, and he concluded his talk, and everybody was clapping for him, and he started to walk off stage and came back on. I'll never forget, he said, "Hey guys, just 2 more things: discipline the hell out of them, and give your best player the ball." In other words, like, don't make coaching too hard. Give your best player the ball, but the important part was discipline them. And I know Doug will do that, and he's not going to do that by browbeating them. He's going to do that through organization and by bringing in quality people.
And John, switching to the Bucks real quick. Obviously, you guys had a surprising season last year, despite a couple of big injuries to Bogut and Red. How do you guys look on this year?
Well, we're supposed to be better, and on paper we are better. So, but the landscape has changed for us. Last year at this time, people were expecting us to be a lesser team in the league, and surely not a playoff team. And we surpassed expectations, and those are always enjoyable seasons. But now we've done it to ourselves. People are talking about us as a team that should make the playoffs in the Eastern Conference, and so there's a different pressure on our team. Last year at this time, I think our team was. Almost fighting for self-pride, not be embarrassed, and now we have to fight to be the team we're supposed to be.
And do you think maybe you're still flying under the radar just a little bit with all the headlines being made down in Miami and Boston and teams such as that?
Well, I think we're flying under the radar as far as championship caliber talk is concerned, but it's been great, and it's been very complimentary from a lot of teams around the NBA when they talk about teams to beat in the East. There's a grouping of usually 4 or 5 teams, and we're usually in that grouping. So it is a nice compliment, but at the end of the day, that doesn't mean a whole lot unless you go out and perform on the floor.
And obviously the big story in the NBA was, LeBron and Dwayne Wade and everybody hooking up down in Miami. And a lot of superstars. You got the Carmelo Anthony thing going on now. Guys wanting to play together at certain teams. Does that worry you at all as an executive of a team in a city that's not like supermarket like New York and Miami and Chicago?
There is a concern being in a smaller market, so to speak. But the real concern is I think the real shift in power from the Western Conference to the Eastern Conference. You have probably the two major pieces, let's say three major pieces in this year's free agency, being LeBron James, Chris Bosh, and Amari Stoudemire. And LeBron leaves, but he stays in the East. Chris Bosh leaves Toronto. He stays in the East, and then Amari Stoudemire goes from Phoenix to New York, so he comes to the East. Now you're hearing about Carmelo Anthony talking about maybe looking to do something out of Denver, and who knows how that's going to work out. But he keeps talking about maybe teams in the East, so that's the real concern. As far as the players colluding and playing on one team, it's it's tough. It's tough for an organization like Cleveland to lose a player like a LeBron James, or a Toronto to lose a Chris Bosh. But at the end of the day, you think about sports, and I can remember growing up. People love dynasties. People love to follow dynasties, and you become fans of dynasties. And I can remember as a kid growing up that the Green Bay Packers. I grew up in Zion, Illinois, right on the Illinois-Wisconsin border, and as a kid, I was a Packer fan just because of how great they were every year. And I think that's going to happen probably with the Miami Heat. I think that this team has a chance to be a dynasty, and they're going to be loved by many, but they're going to be the villains. That the New York Yankees are somewhat of the villains sometimes around professional baseball, and maybe the Miami Heat will be a team like that. But I do think they should be destined for greatness.
And obviously, as an executive, I know there's been some talk with I believe the labor agreements coming to an end in a few years. I know the Washington Wizards owner Ted Leonsis said he'd like to see a hard cap. Do you know anything about? Well, not do you know anything, but what are your feelings on that issue?
Well, it's something that we're really limited on what we can discuss and comment on that per league rules. But we're hoping that an agreement would take place and that we do have a season next year.
All right, sir.
Now the Bucks added a lot of new pieces in the offseason. How do you think they'll blend with the rest of the team?
Well, that's the key. I mean, that's the key to how good we're going to be and how good we can be, is how quickly we can become a team, because that's exactly what happened to us last year. At a certain point, we just we learn to like each other. We learn to play together, and that breeds winning. And hopefully, we can have that same sort of chemistry this year.